Let's move on to the next chapter, developing the theoretical and conceptual frameworks of the study. One of the preliminary tasks that the researcher has to undertake prior to his formulation of the research problem is the development of the theoretical framework of his study. On the basis of his theoretical framework, he then has to develop his conceptual framework or research paradigm or polity. This chapter will acquaint you with the procedures in developing these frameworks. After studying this chapter, you should be able to differentiate theoretical from conceptual framework of the proposed study, explain how the theoretical and frameworks of the proposed study can be formulated. Formulate the theoretical and conceptual frameworks of your proposed study. The theoretical framework of a study is the structure that can hold or support the theory of the research work, according to Liverisa 1997. This framework presents the theory which explains why the problem under study exists. Thus, the theoretical framework is but a theory that serves as the basis for conducting the study. So there should be a theory that supports your study. Why should a researcher formulate this theoretical framework? So there are three reasons for this. Number one, it helps the researcher see clearly the variables of the study. It provides the researcher a general framework for data collection and analysis. It is essential in preparing a research proposal using descriptive and experimental research methods. So, in a study of a personal values and job performance of a non-teaching personnel in a one higher education institution in ACR, Bermejo 1998 presented his theoretical framework in this manner. So we'll give you an example of how theoretical framework is being made. The study was premised on the theory that values affect an individual's performance on the job. Values, according to Bernard and Heisler 1993, are ideas, beliefs, and thoughts we hold about ourselves, other people, and the world. Such conceptions determine how we think, feel, and act. Furthermore, these attitudes and ideas people hold can determine strongly their direction, adjustment, and satisfaction. They are variables that can determine the level of an individual's performance of his work. According to Andres 1991, values help in behavior modification, such as improving job performance. He further stated that each worker brings to his job certain likes and dislikes, as well as personality traits which make up his value set. When this value set conflicts with those on the job, then the job suffers. This conflict can result in poor work attitude, absenteeism, tardiness, low productivity, and general discontentment for the worker, as well as those around him. Relative to values and attitudes, a number of factors affect a person's performance for his job. Cooper 1991 and Zauza 1990 mention power, friendship, and stress are some of them. Human connectedness, a positive and supportive social network, and also helps to make an employee work more productively. Personal relationship can also make a difference on how one feels at work and how effective a person is on the job. So the paradigm of the theoretical framework is shown in the figure, no? Independent variable, yun ang mga personal values natin, no? And the dependent variables or variable, yung job performance, no? So in the research proposal submitted to the author by one of his students on the personality preferences and professional satisfaction, the theoretical framework was presented in this manner. So another example of on how theoretical framework is made and proposed and presented. This study shall be anchored on the theory that teachers' personality preferences exert influence on their satisfaction in the practice of the profession as teachers. The aforementioned theoretical proposition was called from Hans Seeker and Alessandra's thesis 2004 that the individual's personality has a bearing in his behavior. As pointed out by Hans Seeker and Alessandra 2004, there are numerous factors that affect an individual's behavior on the job. One of these factors is personality. Personality influences an individual's disposition, attitudes, and values towards his job. Thus, it can be inferred at this juncture that even an individual's job satisfaction can be affected by the kind of personality that he has. One clear example is where an employee is considered an introvert. An introvert who is outgoing and ready for challenge can be expected to interact with other employees in the organization in order to learn the demands of his job. Having learned what is expected of him can lead him to enjoy his work and become committed to the goals of the organization. Writing on the kind of personality preferences people may have, Gardner and Jewel Rur 2003 identified different kinds of individuals based on Carl Jung's psychological types: extrovert, introvert, sensor, intuitor, thinker, feeler, and judger, perceiver. As pointed out by the two education experts, each type of personality preference demonstrates specific types of behavior that makes a person entirely different from others. With regards to professional satisfaction, the researcher shall premise the study on the instrumentality theory as cited by McCormick and Ilgen 2006. According to this view, an individual calculates the degree to which his job leads to valued outcomes. It is assured that he has a set of judgments about how much he values certain outcomes such as pay, promotion, or even working conditions. He estimates the extent to which holding the job leads to its outcome, and considering all outcomes in the set, the individual arrives at an estimate of the satisfaction he or she feels will come from the job. This theory looks into the extent to which the job is instrumental to producing job satisfaction. This study shall therefore attempt to prove the theory that teachers' personality preferences can affect their satisfaction on the practice of their profession as teachers. So based on the foregoing examples, how was the theoretical framework formulated? An analysis of this example reveals that theoretical framework can be presented by specifying the theory used or to be used as basis for the study. So you have to look into theory, that serves as your basis for the study. And you have to mentioning the proponents of the theory, o sino to naghimo ka to, no? Citing the main points emphasized in the theory, you have to call out lang important points, in the certain theory. Supporting the researcher's exposition of the theory by ideas from other experts. So you have to support the theory by getting the ideas from other experts as well. Illustrating the theoretical framework by means of a paradigm or diagram. Yes, para makita kang readers, how theoretical framework is being illustrated. And ending up by reiterating the theoretical proposition of the study. Okay, after formulating the theoretical framework, the researcher has to develop the conceptual framework of his study. While the theoretical framework is the theory on which the study is based, the conceptual framework is the operationalization of his theory. Some researchers consider it as the direction of the study or the researcher's own position on the problem. It may be an adaptation of a model used in a previous study with modifications to suit the inquiry. It is therefore the researcher's model patterned after previous models that he had analyzed, leading to the creation of a new conceptual framework. Aside from showing the direction of the study, through the conceptual framework, the researcher can be able to show relationships of the different constructs that he wants to investigate. A construct, according to Arboleda 1991, is any clearly defined concept. Example conceptual framework used by Hernandez in 1998 for his study on the correlates of students' performance in mathematics. So as you can see, um, there should be a paradigm or also to be illustrated and how this is being presented. So example, the independent variables of the study are attitudes in mathematics and teaching strategies used in teaching the subject. So these attitudes may take any of the following forms, no? Can it be ang attitude natin positive, neutral, or negative, no? On the other hand, teaching strategies utilized in mathematics were reckoned in terms of the following dimensions of cognitive learning, no? Knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Academic performance, however, was the dependent variable in this study. The grade point average in mathematics was used as indicator for academic performance in the aforementioned subject. Students' GPA was categorized into the following levels of performance. Can it be outstanding, no? There will be no mga grades. Very satisfactory, fair and needs improvement. Okay. Further examinations show that there are two sets of intervening variables in the study, on the proposed example. So ano na siya mga intervening variables? Namely, student variables and teacher variables. No? Student variables included the following: curriculum level of student variables, gender, and interest in mathematics. Amo to ang mga include those as student variables. On the other hand, teacher variables centered on the following: year level assignment, no? Performance rating, and educational attainment. The first set of intervening variables was used in accounting for possible differences in the respondents' attitudes, no? and performance in mathematics. Conversely, the second set of intervening variables was employed in explaining possible variances in the teaching strategies utilized by the high school teachers in teaching the aforementioned subjects. In the research proposal in personality preferences as correlates to teachers' professional satisfaction, the conceptual framework was presented in the following manner. Input. There should be an input, process, and output. As to input, includes a profile of the grade school teachers in terms of selected personal attributes, personality preferences of the respondents, and job satisfaction profile. As to the process, analysis of the personal profile of the respondents, description and analysis of their personality preferences, description and analysis of their professional satisfaction profile, correlational analysis of teachers' personality preferences and professional satisfaction, and its output should be the better understanding of the grade school teacher as educators and individuals. As you can see, there are three sets of variables that serves as inputs to the study, as I mentioned earlier. So these are the profile, grade school teachers in terms of selected personal attributes, personality preferences of these teachers, and their professional satisfaction profile. And to achieve the output of the study, as I mentioned also earlier, that of better understanding this teacher as educator and individuals, The following processes shall be undertaken. No? Analysis of the personal profile of the respondents, no? Description, analysis of the personality preferences, description and analysis of their professional satisfaction profile, and correlational analysis between teachers' personality preferences and their professional satisfaction. Based on the example cited earlier, what procedure did the researcher follow in presenting the conceptual framework of the study? You will note that the following were done in the process. You have to citing the conceptual model or paradigm, identifying the independent variables of the study, mentioning the dependent variable of its indicators and categories, pointing out the intervening variables that can explain variances in the dependent and independent variables of the study, and showing the direction of the study.